Have you ever met one of those people who just can't be stopped? It's like they're unstoppable.
Yeah, I have.
Me too.
What's their mystique?
Nothing stops these people.
Don't stop.
Welcome to Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso. You're about to meet some of the most amazing people.
Stop. Don't stop.
They've accomplished their goals despite insurmountable odds. They beat adversity, physical hardship, and traumatic events, and emerged triumphantly. They're people just like you and me, and they're winners. Are you unstoppable? Here's Frankie to show you how.
Hello there, and welcome to Mission Unstoppable. I am your host, Frankie Picasso, and today we are going on another mission with our unstoppable guest, Alice Teisan. Alice knows what it's like to have the rug pulled out from underneath her feet. She knows what it feels like to have a dream stolen from her, just as she's about to embrace it. She's intimate with debilitating pain and the heartache of heartless pencil pushers who don't understand how their decisions, so casually made, impact her ability to pay rent, eat healthy food, and even put clothes on her back. Alice is the author of Riding on Faith, Keeping Your Balance When the Wheels Fall Off. And she's also the executive director for His Wheels International, a ministry that has distributed, I'm sure now more than 1,500 bikes and trikes to people in 88 countries and on 6 continents. Please welcome Alice Teisan. Hi, Alice. Welcome.
Hi there, Frankie. Great to be here.
Oh, good. I'm sure that those numbers have changed, but we'll go with those for right now. Alice, in the beginning, before things happened to you, and we'll talk about all of that, you were preparing for a 1,000-mile cross-country bicycle trip. You were going to go from Illinois to Delaware, and a trip that you called kind of an interview trip because it was with an organization that you hope to be working with called Wandering Wheels, a Christian bike group. So tell us about all of the places that you had traveled with them, starting when you were a young girl.
So my first trip with Wandering Wheels was when I was 15, and I bicycled from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, 3,600 miles in 42 days. I'm sure your listeners can do the math. It works out to about 100 miles a day.
That's
and
incredible.
The longest was 142 miles from Harrison, Nebraska to Casper, Wyoming. But I tell you what, you'd never want to ride from east to west. I learned at 15 where the wind comes from. I learned it the hard way, out of the west, if you were wondering. Then at 16, I biked from San Diego to Virginia Beach, and that was about a 3,100-mile trip. Did it with them. And then when I was 17, I biked England and Scotland with them, with Wandering Wheels. And then later I biked Israel and did a Florida trip in 92, and that's when I thought, I want to go and work with this company.
Well, you had a passion for bicycles, but you were a working nurse before you decided that you wanted to go work with Wandering Wheels. Is that correct?
Yes,
So
I worked in home health.
Yeah, and ever since you were a little girl, you always liked the bicycle.
Yeah, the bicycle. I can dream about bikes. I even had a bicycle dream last night. But anyways, yes, bicycles have always been a form of freedom. I've had great experiences on a bike. My book's written with bicycle analogies. I think through the lens of a bicycle.
Interesting. Do you think that this freedom, is it the physicality of actually riding on the wheels? Like, did you ever think of riding a motorcycle or 2 wheels, or is it that you like the exercise part of it?
Well, I have a degree also in exercise physiology, so I guess you could say I also just like the physicality of hard, of accomplishment through sweating and doing something challenging. Not that riding a motorcycle, it has its own challenges, but I think I was able to ride a bike before I was able to ever sit on the back of a motorcycle. So
right.
What wins your heart at a young age wins it, and it was a bicycle.
Now, you're a twin. You have a twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also got twins, boy and girl. But your brother gave you a bicycle necklace. He gave you a necklace with a bicycle pendant on it. And that meant a lot to you.
Mm-hmm.
And what did he say to you that day?
So he gave it to me. It was my first piece of jewelry at 16. And he said to me, with the bike, he said, one day, when I get rich, I'll buy you a bicycle store. And I looked at bicycle shop, and I looked at him, and I thought, how do you know my heart's desire before I've even spoken it?
Wow. Twins. The power of twinship, as my kids say.
It is.
So we talked a couple of days ago, and you said something to me. You said, Frankie, we have a lot in common, and here's one of the things that we have in common. 4 days before you were to leave, before you were going to leave your job, leave for the trip, that 1,000-mile trip with Wandering Wheels, something happened. And 8 days before I was going to do something big, something happened. So tell us about what happened on that morning, 4 days before you were going to leave for your trip.
So I woke up getting ready to go to work as a nurse, and I ended up just being overcome with flu-type symptoms. And everything was just sucked out of me. My energy was just sucked out, and I knew that something had happened. And I couldn't even walk to the phone without feeling dizzy, and so I kind of slithered to the phone, called my boss, and just said, I won't be in today, and I can't even help you out with who my patients are. Mm-hmm. And then I somehow crawled to my bedroom, and I had no idea then that was the beginning of my life being changed forever.
Have you ever felt like that before? Have you ever felt that kind of, just so ill and so weak, so, out of it? Have you ever experienced that before that day?
No, I had never experienced it. And I, as a nurse, I thought, well, in my hopeful nursing voice to myself, I thought, oh, this is just the flu. But I think deep down I knew it wasn't.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's something that you wouldn't think. You think, oh, I feel like crap. It's probably the flu. Like, why would you even go to the nth degree, right? But
right.
the flu didn't get better. It got worse.
Right.
Quote unquote flu, and you experienced other symptoms. And were you able to call anybody for help? You didn't call anybody for help, I don't think, which is kind of crazy.
No, not it. I don't. I just figured it was the flu, and I really didn't know a lot of people in my neighborhood. I kind of lived in the city, but I did everything else 30 miles away from my home. And, it's where I learned that, wow, you got to be planted where you're supposed to be. And because, you need those people around you. That was, I don't know what happened during those first 2 or 3 weeks as far as how I made it.
Right.
But it's a blur.
You got to it. Pardon?
It's a blur.
Oh, it's a blur. I thought Ben said something to me there. So you after for a few weeks you got to a doctor. You managed to get to a doctor, and what did she say?
Oh, well, actually, I got to a doctor probably 5 days after it happened, and she just said, you know what? These are viral flu-like symptoms. Let's not rush to any conclusions. A phenomenal physician, I must add. Let's not rush to any conclusions. Let's take it slow. Go home, rest. If it's still around in a week, come back in. We'll talk. So I went home, hopeful that, okay, the 24-hour flu, now 4 days later, was still just the 24-hour flu. But I would have been okay if it was a week-long flu. in retrospect. But
yes, yeah. So were you able to eat? Were you able to? Did you have any moments during the day that you felt okay? Like how?
Yeah, no, I didn't feel any moments that I felt okay. But my eating never was stopped. It's an unstoppable about me. I like to eat, so so no, I had no problems eating, but my house was kind of bare because I was prepared to leave for 10 days, so the refrigerator wasn't all that promising.
How far away does your family live from you?
My family lived about 6-hour drive from me. And, they were willing to help, but I just kept thinking tomorrow, the optimist in me thought tomorrow it will be gone. By the time you get here, it will be gone. And so they were willing to come and help. It wasn't an unwillingness, but I didn't know what they could do. And I sometimes when you feel that sick, you don't really even want someone around.
Yeah.
You still have to entertain.
When I'm going to wait on that one. We're going to go to break in 2 minutes. So tell us about how long did it take for you to get a diagnosis?
Well, it took seeing 19 different specialists and 9 months of lab work and blood tests and sticks and probes later before a diagnosis came.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. And, it makes you wonder why it takes the medical community and all those people so long. Is it, that they're just, I don't know, are they afraid to make a diagnosis? They just couldn't figure out what you had? What was it? We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to find out what Alice actually was suffering from. And I'm going to have you describe it in great detail, because I do have a client and a friend listening to the show right now, Alice, who I believe has the same thing. And I think that your symptoms and what she is feeling match. And I think it would be a big relief for her to be able to go and ask her doctor, is this what I have? So when we come back, which will do just in a moment, don't go anywhere, folks. We're coming right back with Alice Teisan.
Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso will continue right after these messages.
Stop.
If you're ready for a big change in your work, your career, your happiness, your life, it's time for the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Marla believes that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Join us as successful life coach Marla Tabaka inspires you and her clients to explore, discover, and live your dreams by developing what she calls the $1 Million Mindset. Marla will inspire you to take action on your dreams and reveal secrets to success that will help you realize your own unique power. Tune into the $1 Million Mindset for heartwarming stories with Marla Tabaka. Learn tips and tricks to building a successful business and unlock the secrets to creating a happier, more balanced life through abundant thinking and attraction power. For more information on the $1 Million Mindset, go to our website, marlatabaka.com. That's MarlaTabaka.com. It's the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Depression is very real and prevalent. It has been said that close to 20% of Americans are likely to suffer major depression at some time. The good news is that exercise helps ease depression and is one of the best ways to fight it. Working out releases endorphins and neurotransmitters that make you feel good. It reduces immune system chemicals that can worsen depression. Exercise also has many emotional and psychological benefits. Working out is a distraction that gets your mind off of negative thoughts and depressing feelings. By focusing on your workout, you can get out of that negative cycle and concentrate on your fitness. By accomplishing exercise goals, you can boost your self-confidence. Getting in shape can make you feel better about your appearance, and that helps too. If you are battling depression, you have even more of a reason to work out. Feeling good awaits you. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Okay, and we're back. You're listening to Mission Unstoppable. I am your host, Frankie Picasso, and my guest today is the unstoppable Alice Teisan. As you remember, Alice is the founder and executive director for His Wheels International. She's also the author of Riding on Faith, Keeping Your Balance When the Wheels Fall Off. So before we went to break, Alice, we were talking about how it took 19 specialists and, millions of tests to figure out what you were suffering from. That just came on you like boom, all out of the blue. Tell us what it is.
So I remember the doctor walking in the room and saying, "We have a diagnosis, chronic fatigue syndrome." There was an instance.
Sorry, go ahead.
There was an instance that I was elated, and then my heart sunk. I had just heard on the radio, "Yuppie flu." And I thought, who in the world would ever think to have yuppie flu?
Yeah.
And here it was. I had what they called yuppie flu, or all in the head, or
kind of a nebulous catch-all for
yeah,
right?
It's a very nebulous catch-all, right?
And the problem is, though, let's explain what the problem was, that you were a nurse, you had a full-on career, and now you can't go to work. And you were thinking about leaving nursing to go into this other, working with Wandering Wheels. But really the fact is that you had to go on short-term disability because you couldn't go to work, and eventually long-term disability. And, this I know from which I speak too, because I too had to do that. And with a diagnosis like chronic fatigue, which they call yuppie flu, they didn't really believe it was a real thing. And so it's kind of hard to get insurance to pay what you had gotten for yourself. You had actually purchased, the insurance, the right insurance, in case something ever befell you because you were single. And now, you're trying to, like all insurance companies, you're trying to get them to pay.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the problem with chronic fatigue syndrome is they don't write it's a catch-all. They don't know what it is, but the word chronic fatigue is what takes majority of people into their first complaint when you go to a doctor. So you say to someone, "I have chronic fatigue syndrome." "Oh, I do too. I feel so tired. I just ran a marathon. I feel tired." "Okay, well, I feel like I've just run a marathon and I just get out of bed." So, it's a very different type of thing. But my symptoms were, I say that it attacked every body system. It was like a terrorist that attacked every body system, but you could not find where it came from.
So
and,
did the test actually showed something physical?
Only one test. 4 years later, only one test has ever showed anything, and that was what was called a tilt table test. And it's where you lie on a X-ray table, totally still. They hook you up to an EKG monitor and sometimes an IV. And then they do all the movement. So then they move you to a standing position. You're not supposed to make any movement because just the slightest movement will alter the test result. But once they stood me up into a standing position, my heart rate went from 80 to 160 in 30 seconds.
Okay.
So anytime I stand still, I don't stand freestand too often. I stand against a wall. I'm always kind of antsy, always moving. Well, I didn't know it, but it was to kind of re-regulate my system.
So let's go back then. Let's go back to these symptoms, the original symptoms, erratic heartbeat.
Erratic heartbeat, bone deep pain that for a while took codeine, the high codeine with anti-inflammatory intermixed for months.
Did your face get all red and hot if the temperature was above a certain?
If the temperature goes above 68, which took years of detective work to figure this out, but if the temperature goes above 68, my heart turns red, my heartbeat jumps as if it's going to jump out of my chest. I have all the symptoms of a heart attack, but it's the autonomic nervous system. I start shaking. I feel faint. I can't think straight. I have altered, delayed reaction time. So as a result, my peripheral vision kind of goes, and I have to just use, my forward vision, real focus. So it used to be that when people would bang on their horn at me and flip me the bird, I'd think, oh, I better just go home. I don't think I'm safe to be on the road. So it was a gift to me to let me know I wasn't.
Did your words come out wrong or anything like that?
There are times
like a stroke or something.
It feels like that. There are times when I can't figure out words, and I've got a couple of very close friends who know, if my words start, there'll be words that are very close to the right meaning, but not quite there. And so, they'll know that my chronic fatigue is really bad if I can't put words together.
So can you imagine, you're listening to this, folks, okay? You're listening to this, listen to these symptoms, and, what do you think? Like, this is so debilitating, and yet people go, oh, it's, chronic fatigue syndrome. This is like an incredible, how can this not be a disease? It is a disease, but how can it just be, it's nothing, you don't really have anything, just go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and you'll feel better. That's not what happened. And how many years later are you now, Alice? 15 or so?
Yeah, this week starts the 24th year.
Oh, my
1992.
Goodness, 24 years with us.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing reliable about me is that I'm unreliable. And, I used to be a person who wouldn't miss anything, never called. I was taught you don't call in sick for something, you go to it. And, here I am unable to work. And I was an exercise specialist. I was a cardiac rehab nurse. And now I can't do a quarter of the exercise that I once did without having a 48 to 72-hour relapse where I'm in bed and have all the symptoms I've just described to you. People are like, come on, you can exercise. And I'm thinking, I once wrote exercise prescriptions for those with chronic end-stage life conditions, and I can't even figure out how to do it for myself.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and unless you've been through something like this, or something similar to this, where I understand that, because I feel like exercising, and when I want to exercise, I do it, but then I pay for it for the next couple of days. So it's kind of a balancing act in life. Like how much are you going to do? How much do you want to feel better? And how much bad do you want to feel after?
Well, and how much does your physical need versus, the emotional? There's a piece of the emotional that, hey, I was an athlete.
Right, and this is where I was coming next. That's where I'm coming next, because you were an athlete and you were going to, start a new career that was extremely physical and rewarding for you. And even though, you described some of those trips on your journeys, you go, oh my God, what did I get myself into? It was still a big accomplishment at the end and something that you could be very proud of doing. So now, not only you've got the physical debilitation, but the emotional and the mental. How do you handle the depression? Because there's going to be depression. No guaranteed that you're going to feel depressed, because life has been, as you knew it, was taken away from you. It was stolen.
Yeah.
So how did you handle it? And I think they told you, too, that at a certain marker you were going to feel a real depression.
Yeah, I had been doing some counseling prior to that just to figure out where I wanted to go. And, the mid-20s are a little confusing for all of us. I had just come to the point of, so this all hit me at the age of 30, and I had just come to the point of being ready to leave behind counseling. And I was grateful for a counselor who said, I don't think this is quite the time to for you to take off. And so that was very good, wise advice. But the other thing is, on one of my trips in Israel, I had my spiritual life is what is my strong tower, and that's what I hold on to dearly. And on my Israel trip, I remember rededicating my life to the Lord in the Jordan River, and I came out and I thought, God, wherever we're going to go, I will not disown you again. And then I carried
let me stop you there for a moment, because you actually had a little bit of a crisis of faith, going, do I, don't I, will I, won't I? And then you rededicated, right?
Yeah, so I went to Israel in 88 with this thing of thinking, I'd grown up in a Christian home and thinking, God, I don't know if you're really worth going with anymore. And ironically, it was then that he allowed me to go to Israel. And in Israel, you either find them or you discard them. And right. I'm grateful that it was that I found them, and it was a Jewish atheist, actually, who challenged my faith when he rode by and said, you live your faith out. I'm thinking, oh, that was the biggest insult you could have paid me right now, as I'm trying to battle to know, do I want to go with God, or am I going to run away from him? Mm-hmm. And I recognized, there was only one way, and it was to go with him. So what a great opportunity to declare that in the Jordan River and rededicate my life to the Lord there.
So that helped you get through a lot of the emotional crisis that was happening with you. But did you ever think, oh my gosh, God, why did you do this to me?
Oh, sure. I thought, why me? What have I done wrong? Here I am at the crux of, in some ways the crux of youth, as far as all the chaos of youth was over. I kind of knew where I was headed, and boom, now here it is. And, and then people saying, if you only had enough faith, you'd feel better. And, that's a lot of chaos.
That's a lot of crap. Listen, we're going to go to a commercial break in just a few moments, but I don't think that you were ever lacking in faith. And, but your spirituality and your love for God really has brought you through. And I'm going to let folks hear about that when we come back from our break. It's Alice has quite a story, and it's a real good comeback story, and we all love those. So stick around. You're not going to want to go anywhere, because this is what her partnership brought on, and you'll find out about it in just a second.
Stop listening. Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso will continue right after these messages.
Stop.
It's words you never heard.
If you have a lot of spizzerinctum or the will to win, and you have a strong desire to be a part of your favorite sports team, the National Hockey League might be for you. Did you know that if both goalies on an NHL hockey team are injured, anyone at the game is eligible to step in and play the part? Teams have resorted to using their coaches, team owners, and even their web designers to fill in for injured goalies. It's as simple as slipping into your breezers or hockey pants. The original hockey puck was made out of frozen cow dung. The fastest puck shot on record was clocked at 114 miles per hour. And I'd like to take this opportunity to send out a special thanks to the men and women of our armed forces serving our country around the world.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's words you never heard.
Researchers at Binghamton University's Department of Psychology in England believe that if you use a period while texting, it makes you appear less sincere. Hey, autocorrect alone makes my texts look like they came from a goostrum noodle. The study goes on to say that using a period in a text conversation is an act of psychological warfare. Hyperbole maybe, but we get the point. The same research also found that exclamation marks are more friendly and sincere than no punctuation at all. TalkTalk Mobile states that you should always match a kiss for a kiss when texting significant others as well. Fewer or more digital kisses compared to your partner can be construed as a brush-off. Would someone who is distracted by their phone while driving be considered intoxicated?
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Okay, and we're back with Mission Unstoppable. I'm still here, and I'm still your host, Frankie Picasso, and my guest today is Alice Teisan. And Alice went to Israel with Wandering Wheels. She rededicated her life to God in the Jordan River. She is back. She was going to join Wandering Wheels as an instructor and a tour guide, and then she got chronic fatigue syndrome. And we're at the point now where I've asked her, you must have asked God why he did this to you. Why is this happening to you? And he answered you. And what did he say?
Yeah, so I had made a goal while I was in Israel or soon after, to pray 1 hour a day. And here I was now. I had prayed 1 hour a week from 88 to 92. And so here I am in 92, numbing my mind watching TV, the Summer Olympics, which I hate TV. I don't even own one now. And I thought, Lord, I want my life to count, whether this lasts for a day or forever. And so that's when I decided to start praying 1 hour a day. And you say, well, what does prayer have to do with anything? Well, it has everything to do with my life, because it was my new occupation. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, I thought like you did, here I am, Lord, I've got much to give, and you're holding me up to just pray? Mm-hmm. I mean, really, I could do this. I'm quite a talented person. I could do a lot of other things, but it was prayer. And, of course, during that prayer time, I cried my soul to God, because this did not seem fair. Mm-hmm. And but I had already decided I was not going to – as I carried my bike up Masada, I remember saying what the Israeli cadet said, never forget, never again. And I thought, I will never forget God, never again. So it was in the light that I made a decision that now in the darkness I was going to hold on to. And I knew he was good, and I knew that these things were happening for a purpose, even though I couldn't see it at the time.
Mm-hmm. So when you prayed for 1 hour a day, I have to ask you, because it just seems so difficult to me. How did you pray? Well, first time I did it, I pulled out my supermarket list, mm-hmm. And I just went through, Lord, help this person, that person, the other person. Mm-hmm. And then I finished, and I realized there was only 2 minutes of prayer that I had done, and now I had 58 more minutes, and I thought, oh my, I don't really know how to pray. I stayed there, and I, answered through it, and what I learned was, it takes work to know how to pray, and I pray with my scriptures open, and I read, because that's the way God gives to me. Sometimes I sing, sometimes I doodle on paper, and there are a lot of ways. There are many ways to pray, as there are people different ways. So it's like meditation then. It's like there's many ways to meditate. Everybody does it differently. And if you're New Age, I almost think it's like, manifesting the things that you desire in your life by giving gratitude and in a way, it's a prayer too,
mm-hmm.
wanting to have these things.
And I think all those are prayers, and the question is, who are we praying to? Mm-hmm. And so I pray to the Lord, God Almighty. People pray to other.
They pray to the universe, which is another name for God, really, or spirit. They just don't have dogma attached to it. I think that might be the biggest difference. So I want to ask you. You started your prayers and some great things started to happen. However, physically, what happened on that front? Did you get some medication? Did something help you at all?
They treated some of my symptoms, and I don't know exactly why things turned upward, but they did. And so the first disability was about 10 months, and then I worked my way up from 1993 to 96, reintroducing myself to life after having missed whole seasons. But I finally was able to get up to working about 24 hours a week. I'd work 3 every other day because I needed to just crash in between.
Right.
And I was able to do a little riding, but still I always had, the symptoms never completely left me. I think I more just was determined. I was unstoppable, and I was determined that I was going to get back to work.
Were they able to fix your heart problem so that it didn't go into tachycardia, or were they able to,
Well,
stabilize
that took 10
you?
years. That took 10 years. They realized there was this issue, and so they blocked my heart down with what's called beta blockers. That ended me up in the emergency room with an asthma attack, and they blocked it down so far. I mean, I had been living with the heart rate pretty much at 140, 24/7.
Wow.
And so when you block it down to 60, that's a little too low for someone who's...
for sure.
So that left me in bed, could no longer live alone, moved in with a couple women for a year, and now I've lost my independence to some sort. I had always lived alone, enjoyed the freedom of that, and but now, about 10 years later, they've I found a physician who knew it was called posterior orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. That means when you change positions, your heart rate goes up. And so they see that now. They've done a lot of studies that's kind of the most hopeful area of the studies, but it's often secondary to chronic fatigue syndrome.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. Did you ever feel like killing yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. I thought there's one quote about CFS that says, it takes your life, but it doesn't have the dignity to kill you. And, that's so true. I think if I had cancer, I'd either be, to me, cancer is a very glamorous illness. And what I mean by that, I don't mean people who have cancer that it's easy, that there's anything, glamorous about it. But for everybody else, they all want to help. Oh, I'm helping someone who has cancer. I'm taking them here. I'm taking them there, bringing them a meal. And, then cancer, either you recover from it or it takes your life. But this, you don't recover from it, and it doesn't take your life.
Right.
It takes your dignity, takes everything else, but it doesn't take your life.
Okay, so let's get on to the good stuff. Let's get on to the good news. So you started praying an hour a day, and some miraculous things started to happen for you. Tell us how it all unfolded, Alice.
So at the lowest point, you think that's the lowest, but it did get a little lower in that I lost my disability insurance. But right after that, a couple from my church invited me over, this was 2003, for dinner with a Tanzanian couple. And I got to talking with them, and afterwards I felt the Lord prodding me to invite them over, but I thought, God, I don't have anything to offer them. So I fought for about 3 months every day. The amplitude of that suggestion got louder. Finally, days before they were headed back to Tanzania, I said, hey, what are you doing tonight? Could you come over for dinner? And they came over, and I just said to them, you've been at our church. You've seen kind of these short-term mission trips that we take around the world. Would they help you, or what would help your ministry? And unbeknownst to them about my love for cycling, they said, if every family in the church gave a gift of $100, each $100 gift would buy a bicycle and allow a pastor, evangelist, a healthcare worker, a student, AIDS person struggling with AIDS to ride 6-hour walking distance to where they had to be in much shorter time, so they could get the help or give the help that they were wanting to give. And so that's all I heard of the conversation, because my bicycles flooded my mind. And so after they left, I went to prayer, and I thought, well, Lord, I could give $100. That would be nice. Buy a bike. And God and I grappled, and he won, and I did too. I gave $1,200, the cost
let's
of the
say
bike.
That you have a bike that was the $1,200 bike that he wanted you to give up.
Right. So I gave $1,200, the cost of the bike that I had bought to go lead these cross-country trips back in 1992. But at the time, I'm sorry,
and
what?
Money that you did not have.
Right. I was only
making.
making.
Were you making did you get like $450?
$50 a month.
Something.
Yeah, I was making $450 a month working, doing secretarial work in an office, and I didn't know where, if I'd ever make more. I just lost my long-term disability, and I prayed, and the Lord challenged me to give $1,200
because this is very important. Okay, so she made $450 a month. She lost her long-term disability. God asked her to give up $1,200. She didn't know when her next meal, rent, food, nothing was coming from, and she gave up this money.
Well, I did take that out of the bank, so I did have a little in the bank, so I took it out of the bank. But still, all those things are true.
That's security.
Yeah, right.
That's a little more than 10%.
That's security.
Tithing.
Right. And, of course, I didn't tell anybody I'd done that because the line of counsel would have gone round the block a few times.
She's cuckoo. Okay, put her away. Yep.
So I gave it, and when I got home after giving, and I had gone to give it to them, there was a note in my mailbox from a cousin who I had helped out financially, and she had written, "Thanks for your help in our time of need. We'd now like to help you." And there was a check. And on my phone message was a pastor at my church who had heard about the rough year 2003 was financially and said, "We would like to help you." And so they paid the only bill I had due, which was the next 6-month car insurance. And then another family member, actually my mother had said, we would like to help you with just something for your physical care, and would you accept this gift? So by the end of that week, I had brought in $1,500.
Oh, we went to a break. I didn't see that.
Stop.
It's words you never heard.
Laughter was such good medicine. Ancient Greek physicians sent their patients to visit comedians to be healed. In the 1300s, surgeon Henry de Mondeville used to tell jokes to his patients in the recovery room. Dr. Mondeville must have been a bit of a Witzelsuch. That's a person who tells jokes and no one ever laughs. We laugh 6 times more when in the company of another person than we do by ourselves, and 30 times more when we are in a group. Laughter isn't under our conscious control. If you've ever started cachinnating at school, in church, or at a funeral, you know what I'm talking about. Cachinnating is another word for uncontrollable laughter.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
It's a fact that working out for 30 minutes a day will improve your health and make you feel oh so good. But if you are on a quest to lose weight, you should be looking to exercise aerobically for 45 minutes to an hour. I know that may sound daunting, but it's really not. You don't have to kill yourself to keep your heart rate up for 45 to 60 minutes. I know people who put their iPod on and walk for an hour a day. Consequently, they are losing weight, increasing their energy, and feeling great. On the other hand, if you're like me and want to maintain your present weight, then 30 minutes of cardio a day is perfect. The benefits of cardio exercise are vast, and even if you're not trying to lose weight, it is necessary and vital to your health. So schedule in your cardio exercise 6 to 7 days a week and watch your health, energy, and outlook on life improve. I'm Annette Hammond.
Okay, and we're back. And I did not let you know about that commercial break that we just had. I apologize for that. But you're still here. I know that you stuck around, and I'm really happy that you did because we have a free download for you. Alice's book, Riding on Faith, is available for free today and tomorrow. You can go to Amazon.com and download it right now. How exciting is that? You can also go to her website, www.hiswheels.org. Go there, check out more stuff about her. Alice, before we went to break, told you that she gave up $1,200 of her own money, and within the end of that week had received back $1,500 worth of services and money to her. How fantastic was that? So the hits just keep on coming now. Alice, the more you pray, things started happening, the more people you begin to meet, and something big happened. Tell us what happened.
So the next year I thought, I'll give away 100 bikes in my lifetime. The next year, only making making $450 a month, I gave away 5 bikes and 5 hand-pedaled trikes through a missionary in Nigeria. When the pictures came back of a hand-pedaled trike, where those are for people with landmines, polio, or other disabilities who usually walk with flip-flops on their hands, crawling along the ground, now they could be upright, pedaling with their hands. Those pictures impact people who saw them said, wow. And one of my mentors said, you must start this as an organization. So we began His Wheels International in May of 2005 with a goal to distribute two-wheeled bikes in Africa, because that was the area that I was most interested in. And so our first project was, we got 4 bicycles that we found in the area onto a container going to Angola for educators. So we rehabbed the 4 bikes. They were old Schwinn bikes, single or 3 speeds, and we got them onto this container. Well, simultaneously, while we were working on bikes, 4 months later, I went to a meeting, and Ethiopian leaders were talking about how they could partner with people in America and help those in Ethiopia. And it was a business meeting. There was a guy saying, I'll build a sports arena, and I'll build a dental clinic and a medical clinic. This guy kept coming back to this hand-pedal trike. He said, we need these throughout Africa. So I thought, wow, if I could take a welding class, I could build a trike. Now, forgive me, engineers. A dream is something that must be reckoned with. I didn't think about the fact you need engineering skills and all of that. And never mind that I couldn't have even taken in the smell of welding gas.
But you did love to put bikes together. You were good at that. You knew how to do that from before.
Yeah.
You were able to fix bikes and take them apart and put them together, and that was one of your skill sets. So now you're looking at welding, and keep going.
I'm thinking, hey, that sounds fun. So a month later, I was at a party, and someone said, you got to talk to this guy. He just walked in. He lived there. He was kind of introvert. He could care less to talk to anybody. And I showed him the pictures, and within a week, he said to me, within 5 minutes, I'm a mechanical engineer. Can I design, build, and pay for a hand-pedal trike prototype? Well, now fast forward many years later, and he has now designed 22 hand-pedaled trikes. We've gone to 4 small production runs of them. He's also even designed a manufacturing fixturing. So our hand-pedaled trikes has been built or manufactured in North Africa, India, and then we sent kits of 15 of them to a hospital in Ethiopia where they welded them together. So we have 100. We have over 110 of our trikes on 5
Well, let me go back, because I think you're missing out a whole bunch of really cool stuff. First of all, you got a couple of people together and you became a board. And that board knew people, and they brought more people, and you came to realize through your disability that you needed, you needed to have people help. You couldn't do all of this on your own. You had to give up, the micromanaging and just allow people to do what they do best so that you could do what you do best. And so this organization grew, and the people in it grew, and you got just the right people for just the right jobs, and people started to bring you bikes everywhere, and you were repairing bikes and bringing bikes, and all of a sudden, you had like 100 bikes sitting around your house. You're going, well, this isn't going to work out too well. Somebody volunteered an airplane hangar. Somebody volunteered this, and you're just, the prayers continue, and the hits continue too. The miracles continue to happen for you. And His Wheels International has grown, as we said at the beginning of the show. You have already given out like 1,500 bikes.
We've given out 17 by 2013. We had given out 1,700 bikes, and for the first 5 years, we did it all in my backyard. And one day I was home praying very early on for a secretary. I never got my secretary, but it got a knock on the door from a guy who said, "Hey, are you throwing this junk away at your curb?" And I'm thinking, yeah, but you're in this bicycle kit riding an $8,000 bike. You don't want any of that. Then he noticed the rack on my car, and he said, "Oh, do you like cycling?" I said, "Yeah, I just started a cycling ministry." He said, "Oh, no way. I just went on disability. I was a fireman. I went to bicycle mechanic school 6 years ago. Can I just come over twice a week and work on bikes?" And so for all those years, from 2005 to 13, he came over twice a week and worked on bikes. I knew a little bike knowledge. I knew how to fix one type of bike, but do you have any idea how many bikes there are out there? I didn't.
And you know what I think is really cool on your website? When you sign up for your website, you can go on and you can see the architectural plans of the different models of your bikes. And that's really cool. That's very generous of you to put that up there. I'm pushing us because we're going to come to the end very soon. I want, so His Wheels International is big time. And let me reiterate one more time, Alice's book, Riding on Faith, is now available for free for the next 2 days, today and tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the show. Only those who are listening are going to get this right now, so because we're putting it out there. So go to Amazon.com, download your free book. Go to hiswheelsinternational.org and check out her site and all the other special things that you're doing. Alice, I want to bring up that your next big project is Pray 10K.
Yeah, so I'm working over halfway through the second round of my book, Pray 10K, How the Radical Can Become Real, a 10,000-hour prayer adventure that began back in 1988, and I'm now into my second 10,000 prayer adventure, about 4,000 hours of it. So really, prayer is the oil that has lubed the whole organizational chain, and has lubed my life and has given my life a purpose that is way beyond what I could ever have accomplished with alone, health or no health.
So given this disability that you have now, when you look out 20-some-odd years later and see, what you have accomplished and what, your partner God has accomplished with you, what do you think? Why did I get this? Has it been answered?
Yeah, I think now I realize that instead of biking on all these continents and having people someday say to me, "Hey, I waved at you when you passed," they can now say to me someday if we meet in heaven, "Hey, you gave me hope and you allowed me to fulfill my dream." So I have been kind of part of helping as my dream has been fulfilled, that it was beyond me, of bikes, the world, my love for God, and now it has also helped other people reach their dreams, reach their goals.
So what was the purpose of the Pray 10K?
It came off of Malcolm Gladwell book, it takes 10,000 hours to make a prodigy. And I thought, what kind of prodigy do I want to become? Well, the truth is you never become a prayer prodigy, but I thought if there's anything I want to become a prodigy of or want to know more about, it's prayer. And so I again, it wasn't necessarily what I would have chosen because it seemed daunting, but it was what I felt nudged inside by the Lord to do, to take up that challenge.
So do you feel that your life is rich and full of adventure for you now?
Yeah, it's funny. It's full of adventure. It goes all over the world, goes to Canada, through telephone wires. But most of it happens as I sit in my living room. So, I've seen vistas and I've impacted people around the world. I'm coaching right now someone who's starting an organization in Uganda, but I'm doing it all via internet. So, we've gone, in one day it can be doing something in Pakistan, something in Africa, something at a college in Pennsylvania, all from my living room.
For sure. So what goals do you have for the future? Do you want to go to these places? Can you go to these places? Does it interest you?
Well, I think there was a psychologist who said it well. You can know the difference between someone who has depression or chronic fatigue syndrome because with depression, they can't think to make a list of what they'd want to do. But ask a chronic fatigue person what they'd want to do, and their list goes on and on. So, yes, I'd love to go. I'd love to get on a plane and go visit every place that we have a trike on the 5 continents. I'd love to continue to fulfill my bike dream. I one day wanted to bike on all 7 continents through all 50 states. I've done 4 continents and 30 states. I'd love to finish that. The dreams continue, but the truth is the dreams that I'm able to fulfill now are way beyond the little ones that I could dream.
Wow, Alice, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being my guest today. We're out of time, folks. You've listened to Alice Teisan, and it's Teisan. Go get her book, please, for free for the next 2 days, Riding on Faith. Again, her website is www.hiswheelsinternational.org. Alice, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Frankie.
I really hope that you continue to grow and bless more people. It's really exciting stuff.
Don't stop.
When the chips were down, they didn't stop. Stories of people who, when the odds were against them, turned defeat into victory. You've been listening to Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso. See you next time, and always remember...
Don't stop.